Hey everyone, my name is Nelson. I'm one of the founder engineers here at Beyond Identity, and today we'd like to discuss the recent announcements about critical issues that have been making headlines, specifically about the usage of multi-factor authentication. We have a few recommendations for you, but before we dive into those, I'd like to introduce my coworker Jingu.
Hello. Hello everyone. My name is Jing. So I lead product marketing here at Beyond Identity. And as Nelson mentioned, we wanted to share some specific recommendations that are just best practice, right? An incident is one thing, but just healthy security posture is evergreen. So we have 5 recommendations and then a very actionable set of resources for you to go check out after the live stream. Let's jump into it with recommendation number 1. Oh, this is us. Hello, it's us. All right. So our first recommendation is to implement phishing-resistant MFA. And this is not your grandmother's MFA. This is not just any MFA. It's MFA that's passwordless and does not require a second device. And this type of MFA will provide an extra layer of security against one of the most common cyber threats. Actually, the number one attack vector, according to the Verizon DBIR, is credentials still year after year, even in 2024. And MFA is actually going to be the solution. But something I want to emphasize here is a lot of people will say, oh, like you need MFA, you need phishing resistant MFA even, but they miss the point that you actually want complete coverage of MFA. Getting to universally deployed MFA is going to be critically important. And, if we just kind of put our practitioner's hat on for a second, there are legacy applications, right? There are applications that are, this is a hard word, but unhardenable. The applications that cannot be or cannot easily be hardened, right? They don't support modern protocols to be integrated into an SSO. So some of our recommendations there include, at minimum, these applications should be able to support TOTP or local FIDO key. And we've also seen some of our customers use, you put an app behind a password manager or a PAM. So I would really encourage everyone to also consider options, even for these applications that seem so hard and don't support modern protocols. Again, because universal phishing resistant MFA is going to be the key that will keep your environment secure against bad actors. All right, our second recommendation is you have to secure unmanaged devices and work from home environments. I heard this really great story the other day, which is called the street light anti-pattern. And basically, this person is drunk, he's walking down the street, and he's looking for his keys under the street lamp. He's like, I've lost my keys, and I don't know where it is, and he's frantic. And, police walks over, tries to help him recover his keys. They're looking around, looking on the ground, looking in the shrubs. And the cop looks over and says, did you lose your keys here? And the drunk says, no, but this is the area of the street that is well lit. And smart people fall into this anti-pattern all the time where if I have visibility, then I'm going to look where I have visibility and make sure my security is set up for that. When instead, the rest of the street is where your vulnerability lays. Like what you can't see is actually your biggest threat surfaces. So unmanaged BIOD endpoints pose a lot of risk given that the security controls can be inconsistent. We recommend using device trust mechanisms to verify specific security hygiene, including patching cadence, version control, and some other configurations that you might want to check prior to granting access to applications. All right, here's my little toggle. Here we go. So our third recommendation is you want to configure application access policies. So instead of relying on a traditional network policy rules, we really want to advocate for application access policies. This is because, network policy rules, typically what you do is you specify, oh, these IP addresses, we don't like them, or these regions, they're a little more high risk. But what that does is it creates another perimeter, and we don't really want to go back to the perimeter-based security model where if you're in, you're safe, if you're out, you're not safe, right? That is not the zero trust approach. So When you shift to application access policy, you're shifting the approach to zero trust security. And it allows you to provide much more fine-grained and effective protection against unauthorized access because you're pulling risk signals without leveraging kind of this binaristic decision in terms of the perimeter. So I know I have been talking for a hot minute, and I want to just take a breath, drink some water, and see if we have any questions in chat. All right, this is a cool trick I learned. I can apparently pin this. Hopefully that works. So if I am paying the SSO tax for enterprise applications and they still support weak factors, what am I supposed to do to protect myself? So the SSO tax is where, application vendors will say, in order to integrate us into your SSO, you have to get on our enterprise plan or pay us extra. It's a good question. And do you want me to handle it? Or Nelson, do you want to jump in and provide a response?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing I'd like to highlight is maybe you did configure 90%, 100% of your applications to go through an SSO and federate. How certain are you that your vendor, whoever SaaS application you're using for that service, can you actually turn off the insecure factors? Can you turn off social login? Can you turn off the password? Um, there aren't that many that I know where you can actually do that. That seems to be a little bit of a blind spot for the industry. And I think if we want to secure any application, it's not enough to create strong solution and strong factors. You actually have to be able to disable the weak links and not let adversaries use those.
Indeed, indeed. And I just want to mention that, if you're paying these vendors, you have more power than you think. And I think as a community of people who care about security, I would definitely encourage everybody to push your vendors to kind of mitigate these issues. If you have the option to support strong credentials, let's default to those versus defaulting to something weaker because you're only as strong as your weakest link. All right, I don't see any other questions. So we can go to, what is this, recommendation number 4, I believe. Okay, so recommendation number 4 is to implement continuous authentication. It's essential for maintaining ongoing security. So by performing continuous post-authentication policy checks using real-time signals, organizations can actually ensure that device security posture and user behavior remain within acceptable parameters throughout the session because misconfigurations happen and users can be up to some interesting things. So maybe you do want to check device and user behavior even during authenticated sessions. And this proactive approach will help you in detecting and mitigating potential threats as they rise. And our last recommendation before the resources is utilizing immutable audit logs. So maintaining comprehensive immutable logs of all authentication and access events is critical because these things are the logs that will actually tell you what happened, right? These are indispensable for forensic analysis and compliance so that you have a non-reputable record of activities. So reliable records are crucial in events of a breach, and it will help organizations respond quickly and respond quickly to incidents and remediate. I did see a question in chat, and I want to just take a quick pause and make sure we address it. Okay, can you dive a bit more into MFA-related security incidents? Okay, I'm just going to kind of talk about what's top of mind, right? About a month ago, Do MFA was breached and Cisco had to issue a statement. I am not fully sure of the details of the incident, but typically MFA-related security incidents default to a common pattern of phishable credentials. And these phishable credentials include passwords, TOTP, push notifications, magic links. All of these are vulnerable to obviously social engineering, phishing attacks, as well as man in the middle or adversary in the middle. So these are very common vectors for credential theft and access into corporate environments. Yeah. Oh, there's another question. How can you leverage your MFA or SSO provider to limit the types of devices that are allowed to be a factor based on its security
I can
posture?
take that one, Jing.
Okay, go for it.
So it kind of hinges on your ability to use an authenticator that lives on the same device where the user is trying to authenticate from. Identity and authentication is this very natural toll booth from whatever your users are, which is signed out of an application and into whatever resource they're trying to access. They're always going to have to authenticate. Why would you do that anywhere else that on the same device? That has the ability to check the posture of the device in real time. It also can store strong credentials that are based on public-private key pairs on the device itself. And hopefully, they're using TPMs and secure enclaves to make sure that those keys can never move. So your device becomes a really strong possession factor for the user. If you do that, then you also need a policy engine that allows you to, depending on the risk of the application that the user is trying to access, check that posture in real time and either grant or deny access for high risk applications from insecure devices or from any combination of those.
Awesome. That's a great question. All right. We have gotten through the 5 recommendations, and now it is time for some actionable resources that you guys can actually just go and use. And I'm going to hand it over to Nelson. Can you tell the audience a little bit about Access 360 and Breach HQ?
Absolutely. So Access 360 is and Breach HQ are as well are two free resources that Beyond Identity has made available to the community to make sure that you don't have to pay to understand your security posture, and you can very quickly check that. The way it works is you can connect Access 360 to your SSO, and it can automatically detect the policies that are enabled for each application and kind of categorize those based on the authentication factors that are being used.
Basically, what this tool does is it aggregates and reviews logs from your identity systems, right? So we can extract security insights and risk analytics. And the tool provides a shortcut to evaluating existing identity stacks so you can quickly figure out how your users are actually authenticating to the applications within your SSO.
So Breach HQ is a free resource that we've created at Beyond Identity. It's a catalog of all the most recent security incidents that we can find in the news and using public and open source data. And the goal is to help security practitioners save time, not have to go read a bunch of different articles to understand what happened, when it happened, to whom, and kind of what was the scenarios that adversaries exploited to be able to gain access to users' data or company data. It's something we're launching. We've launched in the recent times. We're looking for folks to give us feedback and help us kind of curate this community resource for helping everybody stay informed.
Nice. I'm just reading the comment, and this comment is so interesting. The Microsoft recall feature that records your screen every 5 seconds. That is kind of wild to me. I don't have any immediate thoughts on this except how can it be? It seems it seems like an interesting feature. What do you think, Nelson?
Any strong multi-factor authentication solution that kind of has the characteristics we've been discussing should be able to help you understand if users are on a device that has those capabilities, and then guard access to your most critical applications if it doesn't.
Yeah, and honestly, there are two things that really kill security initiatives. One is user friction, and two is kind of a callousness towards user privacy. So, you know, if your product doesn't pass the muster for frictionless and privacy preserving, it probably will hinder, not probably, it will hinder security initiatives versus actually cultivating a security first culture. So that is very interesting. I will look into that though after this live stream. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Nelson, for joining me on this live stream and for all of the the recommendations and insights and resources, many of which you've built. As always, our priority at Beyond Identity is to ensure the security and trustworthiness of our customers' environment. If you have any questions or concerns, you can always, follow up with us on LinkedIn or reach out to our support team at support@Beyond Identity. So, on behalf of all of us, thank you so much for joining us today. Stay safe and secure, and we'll see you at our next LinkedIn Live event.
All right. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.